what else? Some other software they wrote, but when you start hearing people say the same shit over and over, that's your cue that you need that feature. If one person goes, "Hey, I need this to translate into Russian," guess what? It ain't fucking getting done.
Yeah. But
it's really,
if you sell it to 5,000 Russian franchises, then maybe you want to do it, right?
100%. Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
And it actually does support multiple languages, any language that can be typed in because it's just a text field.
That is true. All right, it looks like we are live on both the page and the group. We simply gave it a couple of seconds for people to jump on, so that's why it's good that you guys are chatting.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? We're back Monday. It's Monday, right? Yeah.
It's been a while since we did a live. We got Matt joining us here. We haven't done a live all last week.
No, and I think we got, 2 or 3 this week already, and then we got one Wednesday, and we'll probably go live from Tampa and out there, but I'm excited. Yeah, I hate not having these calls. These are a great wind down to the end of the day. So I'm super pumped, man. Balls, if you want to introduce our guests and get us going here.
So we have Matt Stanton here. I reached out to Matt. He made an interesting post the other day talking about who would like to learn about building a micro SaaS product. And for those of you who don't know, I'm working on some SaaSes, and it's always been of interest to me, more so because of the recurring revenue stream that you can build running these types of businesses or having these types of products in the market. So I know Matt probably got hit with thousands of PMs about that specific post. But mine, the only thing I said, I'm surprised he got back to me quickly because I know he's probably getting swamped, was, hey, would you be interested in talking in our group about it? And I believe you were in the group prior, right, Matt, if I'm correct?
Yeah.
So I just reached out to him, never spoke to him before, and just said, hey, would you mind jumping on and talking about it? And he's done other software. He has a software with Arnie called Group Funnels, and he has another software called Morgavo. It was Morgavo, right? Morvago. I said it right before the call, and I messed it up now.
With a V, yeah. It's about sticky reviews.
So Matt, why don't you go ahead and talk about your background, how you got into MicroSaaS, some of your products that you're doing now, and then we could just jump right into how to go about building this type of business.
Cool. Yeah. So, man, for a while I was just trying to figure out what the hell I wanted to do in life. I went to college, wasted fucking time and money. I was a cop. I went into law school. I fucking was literally did a little bit of everything. I got into affiliate marketing and at this cool company called Insurance.com. Really had a whole bunch of different roles within that organization. When I was a little kid, I was kind of coding, basic language, nothing crazy. Literally, the language was called BASIC. And got into, as I got older, I was always an entrepreneur and thrifty, and the normal entrepreneur stories, at least to me, they're normal. It's like, oh, let's start up a, business, mowing lawns and whatever, just, making money, right? I always loved technology, and as I was launching this one business, which is a funny, long story, but my first official business that lost money, the business was called Poop Patrol. It was learning how to, you would literally pick up dog shit and get paid for it. But I had to learn how to market, dude. I'm like 23 years old, right? I read this. I'm sitting in this insurance chair, answering phones, just crushing sales, right? It was really easy for me, and I'm bored out of my mind. I knew there's more to life. And this guy's I read in Dallas is making like $100K a year, and I'm making like 40. I'm like, okay, there's got to be something better out there. So I had to learn how to I'm like, fuck, I gotta build my website. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. Figure out how to file an LLC. So I'm like, I'm gonna launch this, thing. I spent about $300 getting off the ground, being lean, built my own website, so I taught myself kind of basic HTML. CSS was, at least it was out, but it was just starting to really get out. So I was learning some of that shit, pun intended, and I didn't get any customers. I learned so much, though, so it wasn't I don't believe in anything such. There's no fucking failures, guys. It's just move forward, learn, right? all your failures are less expensive than any cost of a college education, period. Like, fuck, dude, there's so much shit you can learn on YouTube, and most of my, like, I'm 40 years old. I know I look like a 25-year-old clone Brad Pitt from like 15 years ago. but what are you laughing at, Nick? You got something in your throat?
Dude, I couldn't tell the difference, man.
Exactly. A lot of people get that confused. It's okay. But you know, so as I'm like going through this whole transformation, and I want to like, you know, figure out who I am. I'm learning all these skill sets, and you know, some people were like, fuck, I even remember my own brother was like, why would people like from that Poop Patrol company came a web design company. It's my first web design company, and it actually sold. It was like my first 5-figure sale, right? And I learned a shit ton of technology. Like, I learned how to communicate with developers. You know, I remember one developer said, hey, if you want X, ask for X. If you want X but not Y, fucking ask for X but not Y. Like, you know, but you need to also understand what technology could do. Like, hey, I need a modal window to display when somebody clicks this button, and it's got a, you know, yada, yada, yada. Like, you need to understand some of the lingo in order to fulfill the requests. From there, I went to a company, like, I went to the corporate world. I was like, fuck it. Well, a little bit before that, I started the last company I was just in. For like the last 7 years, I was building a company. It was my first mid-7-figure company I sold. That company is a lead generation company, but was built off like outsourced devs from mainly the Ukraine. One guy is like a digital nomad. So like one weekend he's in a Canary Island, or 1 week he's in a Canary Islands. Pretty cool dude, Daniel. But anyway, so, you know, I went to the corporate world a little bit. So while I'm building this thing, I remember I'm like, okay, I have this company I'm making about, fuck, I don't know, at the time, 100-ish thousand at like a gravy $10 billion company job, not my company, right? But like Sherwin-Williams, you guys probably have heard of them, big paint company. And I'm running their analytics and SEO. Like, so I learned SEO, I learned all about analytics, very well-rounded, which helps. So I'm like bored as fuck because it takes like shit, like just so damn long for things to actually change there, right? You can have all the data in the world, and they'll be like, well, let me talk to Ellen in marketing and see if we should really change that because she really likes the color fuchsia. And I'm like, look, the color fucking red will get us a 10% lift in conversion. It's $1 million a fucking month because we track right to the point of sale. When they implemented a couple changes, they literally to this day still make $1 million extra a month because of me. It's like, don't trust me, don't trust you, trust the data, right? Like you can argue with data, you're just a fucking idiot. So during that time period, the company I'd started with 2 other dudes started taking off, and I was like, fuck, I'm making just as much over here as I am over here. And I'm like, what if we like left our normal cushy jobs, right? And, you know, I got 3 kids, a wife, 2 dogs, acquired some cattle along the way somewhere. And fuck, I'm like, I prayed about it, thought about it. I'm like, what would I tell my kids? And the answer was, go for it. Worst case scenario, I go get one of those things that everyone hates called a fucking job, right? Well, within the next 12 months, doubled revenue and more importantly, profit. Who gives a fuck about revenue? You always see these guys talk about revenue. It's usually the like Shopify or like, oh, I did 100,000 last month, and I'm like, yeah, what was your margin on that? And they're like, 8. I'm like, who gives a fuck? I like to run lean. Software, in my opinion, should be really good software. Should be 80% margins, and it really depends on, you know, I'll outsource the shit out of everything, like growth hacking and shit like that. So I knew I was going to be selling. So I had a couple months to position myself. Started growing a group. That's the Affiliate Blueprint Marketing Group. And I'm like connected with Arnie over the time. I came to, you got to build relationships. This whole fucking, I built more relationships within Facebook groups. Like as I was saying a little bit earlier, was like, hey, I would never go to college. Like you learn more in Facebook groups in a fucking month if you pay attention than you would in all of college for free, right? So build relationships. I reached out to Arnie. We already had, built up a relationship over the course of a couple months. I said, hey, I got this fucking idea. I said, I'll take care of all the dev. We'll work on cross promotion. And it was just a fucking perfect fit. Like it was a no-brainer, right? And I'm not a greedy fucker either, because you ever watch Shark Tank and you see those dumbasses where they're like, oh, I'll give you 33% of my company for $2.5 million, and they're like, we want 42%, and they're like, would you rather have fucking 100% of zero, right? Or would you rather have the opposite? What is that? 68 or I don't know, 58% of like $20 trillion and connections out your ass. So I reached out to Arnie and said, Arnie, how do you like this idea? He's like, it's fucking great. I said, 50-50 sound good? He's like, fuck yeah. So I slept like 3 hours a night and just crushing out group funnels. And then I saw another need in the marketplace, which is awesome. I literally, it's been out for a little bit over 60 days, has over 500 this morning, 545 members. It's called Morvago, and what it does is it basically allows you to leverage your reviews for basically turning your reviews into what we call sticky reviews that are essentially online referrals. They're people go get all these fucking reviews out on Google and Yelp and Facebook. But what happens when they come to your website? People have a couple different things. They either have no reviews on their website. They either have like a page dedicated to reviews, which means shit. If I can't see the review, who gives a shit, right? Or they'll have like maybe like a review section on like way below the fold. So again, if I can't see it, it might as well not even exist. So with Morvago, you can actually see the review no matter where you scroll on any page across any device type, which increases conversions and all that good shit.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Nick is a user of your SaaS. So what attracted you, Nick, to going out to and reaching out and setting up an account with Morvago?
Yeah, so I've seen the pop-ups for a while now and everything, and I've never really been super sold on it, but then I started seeing some pretty good-sized players using it, and frankly, it just made sense. And then I knew I have a friend who knew you, Matt, who's really well connected with Arnie Sema, if you know her, who was vouching for it, and we.
Tell her I said Michigan sucks.
I tell her that all the time. And so, I was just like, man, we got to give this thing a shot because, with the price being what it is, I mean, you need if it affects one person, you're going to pay for like 50x over, so it just absolutely made sense to have. I love the customality of it. And I was talking about, before the show got started, there were some specific features that my team really wanted that was, that weren't there at the time, and how quickly you guys were able to amend that and make that happen and make those changes blew me away. Very, very impressive with it. So we've been super happy. We're running it on 80 plus campaigns right now on landing pages. I mean, we got it all over the place. And we're very happy with it, and definitely seeing some upticks in some conversions as well.
Yeah, imagine like asking for that request for like a huge fucking monstrous company and go, hey, I want. You'll never see that feature. Like I literally listen to people and go, what do you need? And a couple people said, I would love to be able to copy a campaign to save time. I'm like, fuck, that makes sense. Thanks. Boom.
Yep. Dude, when you talked about the corporate red tape, man, that's why I left my career, all that. I want to be able to be nimble, be quick, be active, and not be limited by a bunch of bullshit that goes on. So I definitely related to you on that one.
Man. Horrible.
I did have a quick question, and I know, Balls, you got a bunch of, but you said 80% margins. is what the goal is. Is that including staff overhead, everything like that? Is that everything out the door when you say 80%?
I am king of outsource. I will. So what I like to do is I like to roll up my sleeves and I like to fucking get in at the ground. Like, I am the guy answering the fucking chats. Like, I am the guy, I don't care if it's 3 in the morning, I'll fucking wake up and answer a chat 8 times out of 10, right? I want to know everyone's pain points. I want to know their questions. I want to, like, I document everything in Trello, and I'm, creating, like, it's either going in the backlog of shit to do, or it's going in the someday maybe, like, fuck, the guy wants the whole website to translate into Russian, maybe not right this second, right? But it does, just so everyone knows, it does support any language that can be entered through keyboard. So it actually works with, unless you fucking write Sanskrit on paper, it doesn't fucking, work with that. But I want to get at the ground level so I can know and understand the product extremely intimately, because then what I'll do is I'm a huge, there's a great book, Ari Meisel, Less Doing, More Living, and it's all about optimizing your shit, right? And then automating your shit, and then outsourcing your shit. So when you do all of that, I'm going to, first, in order to optimize it, I need to know, like, what it is that I'm optimizing. So as I optimize all these different workflows and I break it down, including to the acquisition, like, hey, we're going to run some Facebook ads, or who the ideal client is, and yada, yada, yada. All those things I try to break down to microprocesses, and then I automate as much as possible, and then I outsource. So when I'm outsourcing, I'm going to find, different people for different things, whether it's a developer that I'm going to be outsourcing work to, or whether it is a, like a fucking guy I find on, I used to use Craigslist, but there's some other job boards for Philippine, kind of smile and dial appointment setters. And this software is pretty user-friendly enough, and I'm working on a really cool explainer video that most of the people are just funneling in, but I still want to be able to do proactive, outreach as well as work on a value ladder. So on the back end, there's, hey, by the way, you want to increase conversions. Do you also want this, X, Y, and Z that's going to help as well? I love conversion rate optimization. So a lot of different things going on there, but I got to get in at the ground level to understand it in order to ultimately optimize the shit out of it, automate the shit out of it, and then outsource it so I can make 80% margins.
Yeah, I love that. So I actually kind of want to circle back to, the beginning here. A lot of times I feel like, and this has happened to me over time, is people get an idea for a software, or they think it would be awesome, but they're like, oh shit, what do I do? This seems so big. All the big, they start thinking of like Salesforces of the world and Infusionsofts and these huge things. So I mean, I guess talk about, what micro softwares are, what you look for, why you think they would do it, and just talk about, what it takes to actually get one started and get one, off the ground, if anyone who's watching does have an idea.
So the biggest, the first thing I'm going to say is keep it fucking simple, okay? If you start talking about building a new Facebook, like, just punch yourself, right? Like, even if you built it and you think it's the coolest thing in the world, good luck trying to get users onto that platform, okay? Now, there's probably some 1 out of 1 trillion that can do it, but guess what? It ain't happening anytime soon, and it's not you. Secondly is, anytime you pay attention. When people go, this fucking sucks, pay attention. Write that down. Like, this fucking sucks, right? So when I literally, this is funny, because here's how I stumbled upon the group funnels idea. I already said, I bought Arnie's course. He said, here's what you need to do. This dude's like 24 years old, crushing it. I'm like, I'm going to have some free time after this sale. So I'm like, fuck, I'm just going to listen to whatever this kid says, right? So I go out and just start crushing it, and my group, grew like crazy. I have like 4,000, almost 4,500 people in it. And as I'm growing this thing, I have about 1,000 people, and they're like less than 30 days. It's just like, and I'm already monetizing it, and Arnie is like a wizard at monetization. I digress, but anyway, I get about 1,000 people in, and people start talking about collecting emails and yada, yada, yada. I always sprint before I fucking crawl. So I'm like, hey, guys, where's the fuck is this export button so I could export these questions? And they're like, nah, there isn't one. You just lost 1,000 emails. And I'm like, huh, well, that fucking sucks. And even then, I still didn't learn. So I'm like, I'm going to go hire a VA to copy all these fucking questions because it's a pain in my ass and I ain't fucking doing it, right? So I didn't even slow down myself enough to think about it. So I just kept listening to other people go, this blows, this blows, this blows, you know? So I'm like, yeah, okay, this does suck. And then I'm like, well, fuck, right? And I actually saw somebody else try to pull it off in a shitty-ass way, right? So it further validated, well, I didn't know this until afterwards, but there's like 1 billion Facebook groups. Like, wow, that's a pretty big market. Now, whether they're doing the things that we're doing, it's a little bit different, but it's probably going to change. But anyway, so I listened to the market. People were saying, hey, this blows. There's got to be a better way. And I knew based on the knowledge that I had that, look, fucking using a Chrome extension and that's way cheaper than building, like, let me build something that's going to run on Mac that, you know, is from this era and this year and has this operating system. Anything browser-based is a lot easier to support than anything if you're going to run an executable on a local machine, right? So I'm like, I could do this. So I reached out and, like, started doing my Upwork. I basically have this little method where I vet even before while I'm posting the thing on Upwork, I'll, like, filter for, like, awesome devs, and literally have a couple conversations, ask a couple questions, and usually you'll know. I've got really good at vetting, so for me, it's like 9 out of 10 times I'm going to get the first one. I'm going to get the right one the first time around.
So when you go through that process and you're vetting your challenge, so basically you start off, hey, let's find this idea, let's find this pain point, right? Now you decided to Chrome extension because you already know the capabilities of it, and you're like, hey, this could work as a Chrome extension. And then you went to Upwork and said, hey, can you fulfill something like this? You found Chrome extension developers, and then you have the vetting process, and that process can make or break. I mean, I've been in the position where I've hired people that sucked and didn't fulfill and couldn't do it, but I found out after I'd spent a lot of money. Is there any tips or tricks you can do ahead of time in the development space to kind of filter that out and make sure you're getting something that can actually build quality?
Yes, so it's interesting. I find that, well, first, I look to make sure that they have typically 1,000 hours or more work, that they have at least, and this is Upwork's rating scale. It's kind of like, think about it, guys, like reviews for Amazon, right? Like reviews on Sticky Reviews with Morvago, right? So you're like, it's social proof. Hey, this fucking guy worked over 1,000 hours. He's made this much money, and he's completed 98% of his shit on time and has a great ass rating, right? Like, you can filter for those things, invite those people. And I honestly typically find Ukraine, India, my latest dude is from China, have amazing work ethics. And at first, maybe when you engage with them, you might be working a little bit with their time zone schedule. But once, you know, depending on the scope of the project, like Group Funnels, the guys from China, it's I crushed it for like 3 or 4 days with the guy and was just going back and forth because I'm the guy doing the testing, right? Like, I scope out the project, say I need these things, and I send it over to him. Now, you know you have a really good developer when they start offering suggestions back to you. Like, hey, you really wanted originally to do this in an executable, you'd be much better to do it in a Chrome extension, and not just because that's their core competency, but because that's like the best way to do it, right? So when you're working in different time zones and shit like that, like at first you might be working in their time zone, which is sometimes a pain in the ass if you don't like late nights, because if 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 something doesn't get communicated till like noon my time, then he's not getting it till the next day his time, and it's like a full day before communication happens.
Yeah. Yeah, and so talk a little bit about that scope, like you just mentioned. Like that's the thing where I've gotten stuck in the past. Like, how do you go? Like, what is the type of framework you need to provide? Like, do you need to provide like a wireframe? Can you just put a list of stuff? Like, what does that look like? That scope of work.
And before you answer that, Matt, anyone watching, guys, let us know that you're here. Like, let us know if you're watching. Any questions? I mean, we've got a guy who's produced 2 softwares. One, I actually own both of them in the last 6 months, and he's busting these things out. Like, I mean, we got to get. I want to see people asking questions, because this is incredible to be able to pick a guy like Matt's brain, because we've seen these things everywhere. And GroupFunnels was the most genius idea ever. When we had a big influx of people coming in about a month ago, 2 months ago, and we put some questions in there, and I was like, Balls, how do I export these? He's like, dude, this is what GroupFunnels is supposed to. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? They don't have an export button? Like, I mean, it's genius, and it's so simple, but it's genius. Like, looking out for those little things on it. So let us know you're here, drop something, ask some questions, and then Balls, go repeat your question. I just want to say, guys, ask away. Like, this is, we got gold on these shows.
I had Matt on here for selfish reasons, so I figured everyone could benefit.
There you go. Now ask your question. I just wanted to jump in because I just saw the comments. I'm like, how are we not asking a million questions about this? We got a guy who's released 2 successful softwares within the last year and is dominating. So take advantage of that. Anyway,
and prior to this, just as an FYI, I knew a lot about the review space because I helped build some software through our outsourced developers. And it was related to the reviews, but it was helping companies get third-party reviews, right, on Facebook, Better Business Bureau, Yelp, all those different places. But that means shit if somebody goes to your website directly, if somebody goes to your website through an email, all those things. So this isn't my first rodeo. I've been doing it for like the last 7 years. I was actually, at one point in time, I ran the development team at our company until we grew enough that I could hire. Like, my whole goal is to hire to do all the shit at the ground level, optimize, automate, outsource, and build the business up where I, hire myself out of the fucking business. So I can go sit on a beach or go to my kids' baseball games or fucking go ride a four-wheeler with my dog and my kids or whoever, right? So I forgot your fucking question.
So, yeah, it was along the lines of how do you go personally go and generate that scope of work? Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I keep it simple. I don't get into fucking crazy wireframes. To me, if the developer can't do that, then I have the wrong developer. I typically bullet point it out, and I also say, look, I'm looking to you for Literally, I say I need this functionality, A, B, C, D. And then what happens is I get in there, and it's before it's even customer facing, it's not even launched yet, I'm going to be doing some testing, right? So it's okay, I didn't need C, but we also need these 4 or 5 other things, right? And then I start testing, and I'm like, whoa, that's a stupid thing. We really should have with Movago, this is kind of cool. What was happening is users were coming on, and they weren't, I literally on the left-hand side, I highlighted this sounds silly, but this is something that you have to think through. So users were coming on, and they weren't they weren't watching this quick start video, which then means there's more questions. They don't think it works. It's going to hurt retention. So now when you first sign on for the first time, every user gets a big modal window that grays out the back. For those who don't understand what modal is, Google it. There's a really good search engine that'll show you everything you need to know. And then it pops up a window that literally says, hey, walk through these 3 steps. And it says, here's how to create a campaign. Here's how to, get started quickly. Watch this fucking video. And it points to the affiliate program. And you'll personally, again, I scope it out, I iterate like fucking crazy based off user feedback. So I get the MVP up and running, I pre-sell it, I'll get beta users on it so I can use their feedback. I give it to them for free. So of the 500 and last I checked, fucking 40, let me see here, fucking look. as we speak, 559 customers. So of the 559, I probably gave away 60 of those, right, for free to get users on it. That gave me so much more, and it also generates a shit ton of buzz too, right? I got 60 people screaming like, this is fucking awesome, and going, man, thanks for doing this, and, like, making this change so quick. And I know I'm going more than just scope, but the scope starts off simple, and any complexities come off of user feedback that is really going to drive the product direction. So if people on group funnels came back and said, hey, we really need if 30% of the people that use group funnels said, hey, we really need to support multiple groups, right? Guess what? We're launching that. Like, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, that makes sense. So how do you go about getting that initial bait, like the marketing side of it, right? You got this idea, you start developing it, or you pre-sell it. Where do you look for to go ahead and market it? Are you just doing Facebook ads? What are you doing? Or doing alliances with like Arnie, stuff like that for like Movago specifically? How did you go and get that user base?
Okay, so it's a different world. So I leverage every channel, but what I try to do, so when I say every channel, I'm talking joint ventures, I'm talking fucking, Facebook ads, I'm talking Google AdWords, I'm talking, Bing, I'm talking SEO. One of the reasons I picked the name Movago, by the way, is because if you pick an obscure name, but that's memorable, and you'll learn it soon here, balls. So, but the point is, when you Google Movago, right? Nobody else is searching for Movago. So guess who comes up number one, right? But anyway, the SEO isn't my main play at all right now. Right now, like, obviously I own a Facebook group. I got 4,500 people fucking in it right now. I also know a shit ton of group owners. I also know, over the last couple months. So right now I'm leveraging strategic relationships and Facebook ads and retargeting. While in the meantime, I'm trying to figure out like exactly what this product is and who it serves the best. And while I'm listening to my users' needs, so I'm listening to people who have agencies, and want to actually do a true white label. And I'm also looking at how it's currently being monetized and how I can get it to scale to where I want it to be, with still providing like kick-ass value at a reasonable price point where it's a no fucking brainer for people to sign up. So it's going to vary depending on what it is that you're doing. So like, I don't think maybe Arnie and I we probably spent, I don't know, like until we're rolling out probably this week a monthly subscription-based model. So we did like a last time push on a lifetime model. That we'll probably run paid ads for, but we just had so much low-hanging fruit with our own groups and shit, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it really depends on where you're at, like in your own position, and like, fuck, here's another good trick that I love to do. I go to Built With, right? I can go scrape every single, like, let's say some company uses a similar software. I can go use Built With software and pull down all the, like, here, everyone uses this. And if I have something similar, or even complementary, right? So, for example, there's a software out there called ReviewBuzz, and ReviewBuzz helps you get reviews on third-party sites. Again, who gives a fuck what happens when somebody comes to your, I mean, it's very valuable. I'm not saying don't do that. ReviewBuzz, love it. So I go out and get all the email addresses. I could do cold email marketing. I'm not a huge fan of that, but you can also use it for fucking all your targeting with Facebook, even with display ads and shit like that. So literally, even that is, I iterate as I go, like,
That makes sense. That makes sense. So
I don't try to figure it all out. So many people try to figure it all out. It's like, just fucking do it. Like, take action. I'm not saying don't be smart about it, but don't, like, I know so many developers who built, like, these crazy big things, and, like, yeah, it's like, dude, by the time you even got done with it, like, MySpace was already launched, and your space sucked.
So how do you feel about, you mentioned a couple of competitors, right? Like Reviewbows. What happens if they go and roll out the same exact feature that you have? Does that affect your business? How does that affect?
I love it. I love competition. I'm thrifty and I'm nimble and I have a unique voice. I look like Brad Pitt, so people dig me, right? So no, the whole thing, guys, is like people are like, oh my gosh, like I've already seen. They'll be like, oh, proof already exists. Like, why would you build that? You fucking copied off them. I'm like, shut up, you fucking douchebag. Like, first of all, there's more than one car out there. You know, I got about 4 different cars in my own driveway that are different. Toyota, Nissan, fucking, Dodge, whatever. I don't know much about cars, but like that's going to happen. There's Google, there's Bing, right? There's not just one search engine, and it's not always the first to market. And not to burst everyone's bubble, but Proof was not the first to market. To me, it's best to market, and then best to market. There's two fucking ways.
Gary Vee talks about that all the time. Almost never is the thing that's first to market actually the one that ends up the winner and dominating.
I love Gary Vee.
Yeah, all that matters is what you do with it. There's no ideas out here that are original anymore,
No.
Especially in the spaces we're working in, because we're not doing like quantum theory, some crazy shit like that. Like there's a million ideas, there's a million startups, so it's all about execution. At that point, and how you can continue, like you said. And what I love about your services so far is how quickly you're able to resolve some of the questions, some of the issues we were having, and I mean, it was done within like a freaking day or two. I remember being like, wow, that's not the type of service we get with, ClickFunnels.
I always bust their chops about support as well. They have gotten better, or maybe I've gotten better. I don't know which one it is, but they're not going to add a feature. I'll tell you that if you ask them about that. They got what software has like 4 editors? I'm like working in like their old editor, their new editor, then I do like their members group, which has an editor within an editor. That's really bizarre.
Yeah.
I digress. Where the fuck were we? I don't even remember where we were. It was.
Oh, we're talking about competition.
Yeah. So at first, I actually, was trying to understand what it is that I was building. I knew kind of subconsciously, and then I realized that mine is not anything like Proof. And I don't ever want it to be. Like Proof and other companies, and I don't know all the ins and outs of Proof, so here's my disclaimer. If you want to go see what they do, go fucking ask. But from the emails I've sent to them, from other things that people have sent to me, they go out, and when somebody submits a form, they tell people, like, hey, this is what just happened. Like, Nick just purchased Dan Henry's course, right? Awesome. What they do. So what kind of pissed me off about that is the scraping of social profiles. I'm like, wait, you're going to scrape someone's social profile? What if you scrape my kid's social profile? What if you scrape LeBron James' social profile and he's buying some tampons? He's probably going to sue the fucking shit out of you, right? I'm not a lawyer, but maybe, okay? And then on top of that, right, it's like, okay, you're scraping shit, and have you guys ever fucking bought anything you didn't like? Ever? Bought anything just fucking hate? It just sucks ass. So to use a purchase as kind of like a form of social proof to say, hey, Nick just bought something he fucking hates. Not saying you hate Dan Henry's course, but you get the gist. Is you just bought something you fucking hate as a social proof. Like, I thought that was slimy. And then I'm like, it was way too complex too. Make it fucking simple. What's cooler? Nick bought X, or Nick just made $10,000 in 27 days with Dan Henry's course. Which one's more powerful, the result or the transaction that was scraped and slimy? I build relationships. Every fucking one of those reviews that you see on Morvago are legit reviews from my clients, permission-based, that honestly fucking like that they're out there. Like, and the other thing is, too, I actually asked this question in the Morvago official group. I said, hey guys, what's some cool shit like that you've learned since, implementing, fucking sticky reviews by Norvago? And one guy said, like, a process in which to go ask my customers for reviews. And think about it. If they give you awesome feedback, now it's a great time to say, oh yeah, by the way, we offer X, Y, and Z too. Now we're doing websites and kind of like an upsell, awesome thing. On the flip side, if they give you some negative fucking review, like, great. You don't have to showcase it on your website. I wouldn't recommend that. But what you can do is make your shit better, right? Instead of just going to scrape somebody's shit and saying, oh yeah, we just scraped your baby's head and threw it on there, and LeBron, you like tampons. So I love the fact that there's competition, but you do need to differentiate a little bit. I mean, you don't have to differentiate that much. And it doesn't even have to be necessarily, even if I were to have built the same, I'll tell you one of the things I didn't like about specifically Proof, other than the things I just mentioned, was I had to wait like, I don't know, it was like a day before I got a response, 12, 18 hours. I'm like, what? Like to me, customer service is fucking huge. Like Nick had said, I'm going to get it done. Like, if it's got legs, it's done. And I'm not, like, this wasn't even like I was asking for a feature request. I wasn't even a customer. I was just asking a basic question, like how they got, and it was a canned response, which I get, but it was how do they get, the images and whatnot. I don't like shit customer service. So.
Yeah. And most softwares have absolute shit customer service. It's insane. We run, we use a ton of softwares over here, and we have a lot of clients. So we do a lot of volume of these, and so we see problems just about every single day. And there's some companies I never want to use again, man. I bring up ClickFunnels. Granted, once we bought Certified Partnership and gave them an extra $10,000, then we slightly got better service. But like I think I completely agree with you. If you can build a big SaaS company or even a medium-sized one that has good customer service, I will pay you an extra, 2-3x depending on the pricing, obviously, just for that customer service. Right now we pay more than we should for our call tracking, but I love call tracking metrics so much, and I love the customer service so much that I would never even consider, building my own platforms off Twilio to save a few $100 a month or whatever, because the customer service is that good. So I love hearing that because it's just so lost in this day and age, man. Customer service is just garbage.
You talked about call tracking, and I'm a huge data whore, and I love tracking. So I actually, the two other founders of the company I just sold, we all met at a call tracking company, which would tell you the keywords that generated phone calls. So we actually built our own call tracking system off of Twilio, and we can track down to the keyword. We can do all this crazy, cool, funky shit. I'm going way off topic, but I fucking love call tracking. I love tracking. Like, I asked this other person, I did just a free website audit. I get bored and like to stay on top of things. So I said, hey, you want a free website audit? You got to have a local business. And actually, this local marketing company dropped a fucking link in there. Well, I said, well, what? I used to say, what's the goal of your website? And people would give me all these dumb answers. So I used to have to say, what actions do you want people to take when they come there? And they're like, well, to fill out a form and get whatever. And then I later saw that the phone number was in 4-point font at the bottom of their website. And I said, well, what about phone calls? Do you want phone calls? Oh, yeah. I said, well, what converts better, a form or a phone call? Oh, phone calls. And I'm like, what the fuck? It's in the footer underneath everything in light gray font at the that should be at the top in a sticky header where no matter where they scroll, they can see with a click of a button, they can fucking call you on mobile. They didn't have a tel tag. Just crazy shit. Like, really? Anyway.
So let's talk a little bit about ongoing support. So you spend money, you get this developer on Upwork, right? They build a platform, you get the users, you already spoke about how to market to them. Now, what are the ongoing costs? Do you keep that same developer for the long term? And how do you pay them? How is that structured? Give us a little details on that.
Don't tell Upwork. The first thing I do is give them a 20% raise by pulling them off Upwork.
Yeah,
because Upwork takes 20% of their shit. On top of that, when you find an awesome developer, so my former developer, Alex, at the company I used to work with, I can't take him with me because there's like that whole non-compete stuff. So that dude I was working with for about 2 years. So I've been working with Alex for like the last 9 years. He had his first son. I threw him 500 extra bucks. And in the Ukraine, that's like $1 trillion. Maybe not $1 trillion, but that's a lot of money, right? Treat him very well, right? Hold on one sec. I just got a message. Somebody needs some help.
That's customer.
I need help with your code snippet. All right, hold on. I'm going to answer him. What's up, man? See how you could just be personal and like be a fucking normal dude and not be like, hi, I went to Harvard. How can I help you? Like, don't be a douche. Don't be that guy. Nobody likes that fucking guy. Anyway, so yeah, you want to treat him like gold. Give him, just treat him like a human is the first fucking thing, right? Treat him like you want to be treated. You don't have to pay them in US dollars, but value their time. I really tell them thank you about 1 trillion times a day. Hey man, that's awesome. Everyone has an ego. We all do. Dude, that's fucking even better than I thought, right? And then it encourages them to continue to think of better ideas to enhance the software that you fucking own, right? So, I mean, he's like, depending on who it is, it's like, hey, did you think about doing it this way? And I'm like, that's fucking brilliant. Great idea, right? So I tell everyone in business 2 things, and it's maybe life even, I don't know. Relationships, and that goes everywhere, including the relationships we're building right here. This ain't going to be the last time we talk. And then fucking math. If you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide, you're good, right? The fuck geometry and all those other trigonometry, you don't even need them. Yeah, stupid shit. When's the last time you used that, right? Never. Or you go, hey Siri, what's this? And Siri would probably tell you to fuck off. But anyway, so you get the developer, I pull them off, and then I'm going to nurture that relationship and make sure that they're a good fit. Like, I don't even pull them off Upwork until I know they're a good fit, right? And then depending on what type of software, like GroupFunnels doesn't have a lot of overhead. Once I get all the bugs working out, I haven't touched it in a while, right? I literally we listened to the users, we fucking added all these cool things, and now it's like time to make the pro. We're gonna have a basic and a pro, and it's time to do that. And I'm the one testing that and making sure because I want to. So I tend to keep the same developers. However, I will say when Russia was invading the Ukraine, and you got a $4.5 million company with the main developer sitting, not too far away from some bombs and shit, right? Like you're like, oh, you don't want to have that bot like this, that like the hit by a bus or a bomb thing, right? So we did bring in a dev that could, because at the time I was like the lead developer. What that meant is I could tell Alex what to do. He could interpret what the fuck I wanted. I would test it, and then we'd let it go out into production. We hired somebody a lot smarter than me, and he helped make it a little better. Not a little better, a lot better. More stable, scalable. I already had redundancies built in because I wanted to make sure, like, with servers nowadays and shit, like, you can be backed up across, like, Amazon, right? Like, one thing goes down, rarely do things need to go down anymore. I know I'm going on here, but, like, it's literally building a relationship and kind of individual case basis, but there are instances where it's easier to keep the same person if you can. 90% of the time you will. But there are instances as you grow and get bigger, you may need to bring in other developers. A lot of times the one developer is going to be like really strong on the back end type stuff, in the code, where if I want a pretty website and doing all these cool things, like that's more of a front-end developer. So get two developers that can communicate with each other without their egos getting hurt, because developers tend to have like
Quick question, Matt. So for a lot of our audience, they're going to be, a little bit newer, might not have had experience talking with developers, graphic design, nowhere really that they, nowhere to begin. Now, do you have any resources that you provide on just introduction to getting more comfortable with talking to developers, knowing if you're going to get ripped off? Because you hear about it all the time, right? Developers who just can't come through. Or do you have any specific books, resources you would recommend for people watching to go check out to try and learn a bit more about some of this? I know you mentioned some books earlier, but any groups or anything?
Yes. So honestly, that's kind of why I had my ask question out there, which was trying to get an idea of the types of people that would be interested in building software. So I was literally thinking of coming up with a course, and it was going to kind of be I'm spitballing here, but this is how I operate. I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to ask a bunch of people, see what they think, see, like my question was pre-framed, like, hey, who would be interested if I came out with this course, or yada, 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 and it tried to vet out the people who think they're going to make an iOS app and make $1 trillion. Like, hey, do not ask me about an iOS app, right? So I was planning on, depending on the results that are still coming in, like building a course that was going to be like, hey, 2,000 I'll teach you, like I'll teach you how to do it for $2,000, or I'll do it for you for like 10x. And I don't even know about that. So it's what I'm learning is that I think you have to have. You don't have to be a developer at all. But trust me, like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm like a 1 as a developer, right? Like I can modify some CSS and JavaScript and look at something crazy. Like I'm not writing any code, any significant code. But you have to understand at least what's possible, right? You need to understand that at a low level, you need to understand that, hey, I could click a link and it could open in a new window, or it could open in the same window, right? And there could be you need, if you don't know like basic shit, I don't even know how to define basic shit, because it's a subjective term, right? It's probably not a good thing for me to go do personally. I'm just being honest. However, it's either going to be time or money that you're going to spend. To me, and I saw a blue ocean with this, and I was asking the same question, Nick. I was going, where can people go? Where can people go? Like, I heard about Software Secrets by ClickFunnels, and I haven't looked at a thing at all about it, if that makes sense. Like, I haven't read it or anything like that, but I'm like, I wonder if it makes sense to help those who can be helped. Because, again, certain people that don't understand what a browser is, and there are those people that'll come to you with the best idea in the world. I want the next Uber for pizza. Everyone loves pizza. Think about it, man. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
We'll split it 50-50. You build it and market it. Like, fuck off. So it's a shitty answer, but this is how far I've come along in the process. I hope that even paints a picture of how I think in the execution phase. Like, I haven't sunk in a penny in this idea other than a little bit of my time asking a question, fielding some people who were asking me questions about software, and then hold on, do you have a video on how to install this on WordPress? Did you watch the quick start video? You can install it in footer.php before end body. And this is what a guy does after they sell a mid-seven-figure. I only had 33% shares of it, but it wasn't a bad paycheck. Anyway, so I hope that answers your question. It's like a shit answer, but the answer is I don't have one, but I wanted to build one for. I really was just going to vet people. Here was my process. Like, can you spell? Okay, cool. That's good. Can you do math? Okay, better. Do you know what a modal window is? You know, like just like to me, like the very bare essentials. Because my concern was if I did the course and created another Facebook group where I was going to help support them succeed, I didn't want to answer questions that would like just suck up and consume my time, right? Like I'd rather just do JVs with balls here and go, hey, let's talk about this. Let's see if there's a market for it. You pre-sell it. Let's fucking launch it. Yeah, we can crush it, right? Like to me, I didn't want to be hand-holding, but I still don't have that answer yet.
Okay.
Fair enough. I reached out the second I saw it, I'm like, yeah, we need to have this conversation more often because there's other revenue streams besides, running Facebook ads, doing affiliate marketing. There's so many ways to make money online that people need to know that this is possible, right?
100%. So I will tell you, I think low-hanging fruit is for people who already have a customer base and that can, like, for example, right, Nick, you said you 80-plus people running, I don't know if they're 80 unique clients or whatnot, but let's say you had 100 clients. You could build some really easy software that solves a problem for them, and this is what we did. So at my old company, we knew that people were going out there and getting reviews. It turned into a little bit of a shiny object, but that shiny object is making, last I knew, at least $40,000 a month for them. So it was like, okay, we had, a whole bunch of close to 500 people in the network, and it was like, okay, great. It's easier to sell shit to people that know, like, and trust you, right? So they have this other problem that other people in the industry are trying to solve. Well, why don't we just build this little thing and just have a SaaS kind of, I don't want to say set it and forget it, but at some point in time, if it's good enough, you're setting and forgetting it and just iterating periodically as opposed to putting out fires. So you got to have a strong foundation, but you can keep it simple.
Yeah, Nick, you could probably dive in and survey if you already have a customer, you could survey your customer base and find out what some of the issues
I'm
are.
I'm already thinking about it. So I like that. I like that idea because we do, and we run an agency, Matt. Just so you know, with smaller size businesses. I mean, typically anywhere from $3,000 to $20,000 in budget range. But yeah, I'm already thinking about that. I love it. It all comes back to that ask method, right, Balls, that we've been talking about. Just ask people for shit, man. They'll tell you
ask them what they want and give it to them, right?
They'll tell you what they want if you just ask them.
Yeah. Hey, or ask, and you might be way off, right? Like you might say, hey, obviously with the ask method, they're like, hey, what's your number one, challenge with X, Y, and Z? And sometimes you got to deduce what that actually means, right? They're going to tell you time, where really it means, optimization and efficiency. Like, for example, if I would have said, hey, what's your number one challenge with getting those questions and answers and doing anything useful with them, you would have said, well, it takes me so long to add them, right? You wouldn't have said, I really need something that's going to scrape the fucking browser as it renders and blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Nobody would have said that. Maybe, I don't know, I would have, but.
So we may have answered this, and I just want to get back to this, so how do you decide what platform to build your SaaS on, like Chrome extension versus, like, what code? Is that something the developer decides? Like, is Movago written on a Chrome extension as well, or is that written on some other code? Like, how do you decide the framework? How do you decide all that stuff?
Yes, so, if it's really lightweight, it could be a Chrome extension where it's reading off the browser. Does that make sense? Like, it's really the browser displays something, right? And it can manipulate the browser because the browser's already displayed it. Once it's displaying on your screen, that's yours. I mean, it's not yours, but you get what I'm saying. Like, you can manipulate it however you want. You can go push buttons and click things and automate, like that type of stuff. So I hope that answers that piece. Like, that's pretty lightweight stuff. Or if you want to automate like a search, I have this cool idea that I might do, which is like, well, I'm going off topics, but this is what freaks like me do. So the other thing is, I stay up to date with like at least at a high level. If you ask me what Node.js is, I have a high level understanding of what the fuck it means and what it can do. Like MongoDB and, you know, like these new, like Ruby on Rails, which was written by, I think, the guys from 37 Signals. They created their own fucking, like, you know, programming language, which is pretty fucking sick if you think about that. But I make sure that it's going, like, I make sure that they're not going, I want to put this on Wix, because I fucking hate Wix. I hope you guys don't like Wix. I hate Wix. Or something like, I want to build this on, you know, PHP 3.0, because PHP is like this language, it's got its place, and it can work, but there's so many like different variations and dialects of it. So imagine if somebody else has to come in. It's not like very standardized and structured. So if somebody else has to come in and like try to roll up their sleeves, and somebody wrote it in like 18 different dialects, sometimes it's hard for another developer to come in and like look at things and go, oh, I see what's going on here. So I just try to make sure that it's written in a modern language and not something like, oh, no, I'm going to write this in you know, QBasic, or, you know, I'm going to write this, build it off, what are those shitty ones? So WordPress is these, I like WordPress, but there's Joomla and that other shit one. I don't know. I hope you're getting the point is, like, just make sure it's, I usually lean on the developer. You're going to know if they know their shit based on a couple conversations that you have with them. Ask them, and this is, I guess, I didn't even realize until you started asking me this. I will ask the developer flat out in my conversation with them what programming language, or they use the word like what programming stack do you fucking use, right? What do you use? What development stack do you use? And if you start seeing that 8 out of 10 are saying, I write on Ruby on Rails, and this is why, well, then they're giving you the answer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I forgot I did that. It's so natural, not natural, it took me a while to learn, but it's like it's a shortcut. It's a hack to get them to understand, or to get the answer that you want.
Makes sense. So, Nick, do we have any questions? Or I don't think we have many questions tonight.
Oh man,
yeah,
I'm looking for. I definitely want to meet up again, and well, obviously we'll talk offline too, Matt. Would love to connect further there, but definitely want to have you back as you go along this journey and clarify, you know, what you're talking to the market about, some of these things as your process towards this course evolves. We'd love to bring you back on, because this is a great topic. It is something that, you know, people should be excited about if they're not. And yeah, I'd love to have you back, but I'm good on questions for now, man. Just want to say that it's pretty impressive that busting out 2 softwares like that and having them do well, and literally I own both of them. So we definitely appreciate all that good stuff.
Well, I appreciate you being a customer, and I also appreciate the feedback. I'm literally in the middle of a fucking interview answering questions that are already answered in a startup video. But either which way, that's maybe an insight that I need to make it more prominent. I already have it highlighted yellow and an arrow pointing to it. Maybe I need to change the color of my arrow.
Awesome, guys. If you have any follow-up questions for Matt later on, if you're catching the replay, go ahead and just post a comment below the video. Matt is in both, I think you like the page and in the group, so just tag him in it. He'll be happy to answer your question. It seems like he's doing customer support 24/7.
Yeah.
And the second you have more information on if you end up doing the course, let us know. We'd definitely like to promote it and or buy it and let our audience know what's coming, what's to expect of it.
Awesome. I appreciate it, guys. It was nice to officially meet you, and we'll see you around.
You got it, Matt.
Thanks.